Time and place is everything, especially in marketing. But in today's age of a million messages per minute and not enough hours in a day, how do you really catch your target audience's attention? Fortunately, there's a simple way. LinkedIn can help you speak to the right people at the right time. With LinkedIn becoming #1 in B2B display advertising in the US, you've got a great advantage. You can stand out against your competitors while nurturing customer relationships and growing your brand. LinkedIn delivers you quality and quantity. Its targeting tools allow you to reach your precise audience down to their job title, company name, location, and more, which means your ads are being seen by those who matter. Scale your marketing and grow your business with LinkedIn advertising. As a thank you to their customers for helping them grow 3 times faster than their competition, LinkedIn is offering a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/marketing to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/marketing.
The doors to the Patients Getting Paid membership community are now wide open. This is a community of people with chronic illness learning to find and create flexible remote work that accommodates their health. I call us chronicpreneurs. There are trainings, coaching calls, networking opportunities, co-workings, and a ton of resources. Want to take better care of yourself and still generate an income? Join us at patientsgettingpaid.com. Welcome to the FUMS Now podcast show, where you'll gain information, inspiration, and motivation for living your best life with multiple sclerosis. Find us online at FUMSnow.com. I'm your host, Kathy Reagan-Young. Hello, and welcome to the 100th episode of the FUMS podcast show. Unbelievable. How can that be? I guess time flies when you're having fun, right? In honor of this 100th episode, it's just going to be me, no guest. I'm going to talk a bit about the history of the pod, some of my favorite episodes, and I'm going to share some messages listeners sent in to commemorate this milestone. Let me take you back to the inception of this little podcast, back to 2015. There weren't anywhere near the number of podcasts as there are now. In fact, most of my friends and family didn't know what the hell a podcast was. I had heard some podcasts and I loved them. I couldn't get enough of them. I felt like I actually knew these people that I was listening to. They were like friends to me. They expanded my network and community as well as my mind. It's such an intimate medium where, as a host, you're in someone's ears, talking to them directly, them listening directly to you. There was no other medium that was that direct in terms of speaking to people. I love it as a consumer of podcasts, and I wanted to start my own for FUMS. I'd been blogging since 2011, but I saw this as an opportunity to bring information, inspiration, and motivation to people living with MS in a way that could help them feel they weren't alone, like I was talking to them personally. And I am. This podcast gives me the platform to share ideas and feelings and concerns and worries and fears with others going through the same thing. And because I have a podcast, I get to talk to people that I otherwise wouldn't likely have a chance to talk to. For instance, if I called up Columbia University and asked to speak to a professor of neuropsychology in their Department of Neurology, because I just had some questions I'd like to chat about, I can only imagine what kind of answer I'd get. But when I call and I say, I'm with the FUMS podcast show and I'd like to interview said professor of neuropsychology in the Department of Neurology, guess what? They said yes, and more than once. No one's ever said no. And then I asked the FUMS community what questions they have so I can ask on their behalf. This podcast affords us all the chance to pick the brains of experts in various fields that can help inform our understanding and treatment of our disease. Or maybe we just feel better hearing from others with MS that share their journeys and make us feel that we're not alone. It's been such an enormous gift to me to be able to do this podcast, and I hope the pod has been of value and benefit to you as well. When I decided to start a podcast way back in 2015, there weren't any courses or manuals on how to start a podcast. I was listening to the Internet Business Mastery podcast, and they had put together a quick down and dirty tutorial on how to start a podcast, meaning like the actual tech considerations. Thank God, because otherwise there's no way I would have been able to figure it out on my own. It was honestly one of the most frustrating, confusing, demoralizing things I've ever done. But then it turned into one of the most uplifting, far-reaching, community-building things I had ever done. So worth it. But other than birthing my babies, this was definitely the toughest thing I've ever birthed. In thinking about what I wanted to talk about on this milestone episode, I went back to the other 99 episodes. Wow. That's a lot of diverse topics and guests. My first episode was with the amazing Dan and Jennifer Digman, a married couple that each have MS. I interviewed them about their book, Despite MS to Spite MS, and their life. And I was in love with them by the end of the interview. We've since met in person several times, and I adore them both, and I look for opportunities to work with them. Episode number 9 was with cannabis advocate and activist Terry Heedy. She is so freaking knowledgeable and so willing to share that knowledge that hosting that episode was like riding a bucking bronco. I just held on. And at the end, I literally laid right down on the hardwood floor under my desk and had to recover. She and the information she shared was amazing, but I was wiped out. My first MS celebrity interview was episode 10 with Dr. Terry Walls. She'd been confined to a tilt recline wheelchair due to her MS, but then turned it around with very intentional lifestyle changes like very specific nutritional choices, stress management, and exercise. I was intimidated to speak with her because I had watched her TED Talk and she was seemingly all over the media. But she was very kind and imparted so much information, it was a delight to talk to her. Side note, I've only done one interview where I forgot to hit record, and it was with Dr. Walls of all people. It wasn't this first time that I interviewed her, but actually just a couple of weeks ago. We had a wonderful conversation about her latest research results for about an hour. When I went to sign off, we both noticed that I had never pushed record. I was mortified. The truth is, I had just returned from saying goodbye to my brother in hospice, and I had no business even trying to form full sentences. Dr. Walls was so kind and wonderful about it and has rescheduled to come back and actually record that interview again soon. Episode 11 was with my dear, dear friend, Erin Glaze, my co-author for our ebook, Bowel and Bladder Issues in Multiple Sclerosis by Two Pea Brains with Potty Mouths Talking Shit About MS. She's a world-renowned pelvic floor dysfunction PT specialist, and we had a blast both writing that book and doing the podcast together. And I think it came through in the interview how much fun we had. It was really, really fun, and I heard from a lot of people that that episode really helped them. One of the things that I've done with this podcast that I'm most proud of is the international series where I interviewed MSers from 5 different countries. Let's see, England, Ireland, Australia, Canada, and Denmark, all about their MS journeys. It was born of a conversation I had with someone from another country who said there weren't any medications for people with PPMS, primary progressive. I said, yeah, there is. It's Ocrevus. And this person said that wasn't available in that country. It had never occurred to me, American privilege, that all drugs weren't available to all MSers everywhere. I was instantly intrigued and wanted to learn what the MS experience was like in other countries. I started out just wanting to see what the standard of diagnosis and care was in other countries, but I ended up delving into the healthcare systems in these various countries and how patients are viewed and treated. As jacked up as I knew the US healthcare system was going into this series, I came out even more disappointed. It was eye-opening, and I learned so much in those 5 episodes, number 36 through 41. When the coronavirus came a-calling, I did several episodes, including a Facebook Live episode with Dr. Aaron Foster, an MS specialist who gave us the straight scoop on the vaccine that was being introduced at the time and had scared the shit out of all of us. I went into the interview thinking there was no way I'd be what I termed a guinea pig for that vaccine. And by the end of that extra long episode, I was excited to go and get my vaccine. That's the beauty of being able to pick the brain of experts. You get all your questions answered and it can calm your fears. The 50th episode is one of my favorites because my wonderful podcast editor, Steve Woodward of podcastingeditor.com, pieced together a ton of people wishing me well on my 50th and all of the FUMS sign-offs up until that point in a great montage. It's hilarious. I highly recommend you listening in, even just to the FUMSs. So good. Dr. Gretchen Hawley from msinglink.com and Aline Brennan from lessfarmmortable.com hold the records for most repeat episodes, each having done 3. Dr. Gretchen gives us great info and exercises from an MSPT's perspective. And Aline is a functional nutritional counselor and chef that helps us learn to make better food choices and teaches us how to use essential oils for MS. I love those ladies, and they're always very popular guests. The most moving episode I've ever done was quite recent, episode 98, when I spoke with Jenny Angus, who has an especially aggressive form of MS that had progressed to the place that she had been certified in Canada's Medical Assistance in Dying program to end her life. We had talked about working together to give her purpose in her life before making that decision. But when she made that decision, I told her I'd be there to support her. Now she's pursuing HSCT stem cell therapy in an effort to halt the beast. Interesting, moving, inspirational. And that brings us to today, the 100th episode of the FUMS podcast show. I still can't believe we're here. What an honor it has been to get to bring you information, inspiration, and motivation for living your best life with MS. I've hosted episodes on various topics, including, let me take a deep breath for this one. Okay. Gut issues, yoga, meditation, journaling, how your saliva can help advance MS research, heat intolerance, sex, funny shit about MS with a comedian with MS, healthcare activism and how to get involved, music therapy, fitness, alternative therapies, virtual reality, dental issues, sleep issues, mental health issues. We have a lot of issues. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and psychedelics, just to name a few. I hope you found value in this podcast and will continue to tune in and share it with others that you know could benefit from it. I've received messages from people sharing their thoughts on this podcast in honor of this 100th episode, and I'd like to share some of them with you now. Sharon Carrington says, I love listening to your podcasts and often listen to them when I'm in the gym. Listening to your podcast really helps to motivate me to be more positive and feel less alone. I love hearing about how people have not let MS ruin their life and how they have overcome many hurdles. Danielle Martinez says, FUMS podcasts give great resources like possible treatments, how to be part of MS research, and even help to get on disability. Thank you for making podcasts that bring all MS resources together. Julie Joyce says, I have benefited from FUMS for a while now. After taking 7 years to finally get diagnosed, you gave me the permission and freedom to say, fuck you, MS, every day when needed. I love that. Patty Flynn says, your podcasts are about the things that everyone who has MS or has a loved one with MS should be aware of. We could never thank you enough for doing the hard work for us and sharing it with clarity and humor. You are my convenient encyclopedia of MS information. I'm positive that I'm staying up to date with all the ever-changing MS information thanks to the FUMS podcast. Cheryl L. Scher says, you and your podcast keep me company when MS makes me feel alone. Suzanne Black says, the FUMS podcast saved my sanity. by giving me permission to laugh at this disease and give it the finger. I appreciate the time it must take to put together all of the research and interview the guests. I've learned so much and laughed so hard. It's medicine to me. John McMahon says, FUMS sets a standard by which other podcasts in this healthcare category pale. It's smart, well-researched, sassy, and funny as hell. I appreciate the education I get every time I listen, and Kathy's little side comments crack me up. And Aline Brennan says, the FUMS podcast is such a gift to the FUMS community. Kathy brings us all the current news so we can stay on top of the latest research and discoveries. She connects us to the top leaders in the MS industry, and my personal favorite is her one-of-a-kind humor that makes daily living with this chronic illness easier. Congratulations on your 100th episode of the FUMS podcast, Kathy. Thank you for all the work you do to make our community and life with MS a little brighter. Wow, what wonderful comments. Thanks, everyone. And those were just a few of the comments sent in celebration of this milestone episode. I'm honored to have been given this opportunity to serve this community for 100 episodes. If you've enjoyed this podcast and would like to offer support, please add a rating and review at Apple Podcasts. This helps more than you can know. And if you're wanting to support this podcast financially, much appreciated, please go to patreon.com/FUMS to contribute. That's patreon.com/FUMS. And thank you in advance for your generosity and support. Thanks, everyone. It's been a blast, and I look forward to the next 100 episodes. Can't sign off without this. We here in the FUMS Nation speak to this stupid disease as it deserves, and we say FU to MS every day. Please, everyone listening, raise your voices and your middle fingers with me now as we give this bastard the salute it deserves on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. FUMS. Quick shout out to Steve Woodward at podcastingeditor.com for the fantastic work on this podcast, including editing, show notes, and ingenious ideas. If you'd like help with your podcast, whether you're just starting out or an old pro, visit podcastingeditor.com and tell Steve I sent you. Thanks, everybody. I really appreciate you listening to the FUMS podcast show. Be sure to subscribe to it so you won't miss an episode. You can do that right on the website at FUMSnow.com. While you're there, sign up for the free email list so you'll be among the first to know of any new findings in MS research, new therapies and products, as well as any blog posts and podcast episodes I release. Want to chat with others in the FUMS community? Join us on Facebook at FUMS Now. Thanks again, and don't forget to talk to the stupid disease as it deserves. Tell it FUMS every day.